Welcome back. We are talking about a really interesting transition today between Virgo and Libra. When we make this transition, we all feel it. And we all have all of these signs in our chart, as you know. And when we jump from Virgo to Libra, it really is that jump from where we are focused on self and where we're trying to get to know ourselves and who are we and what are we doing in this world and how do we feel? And in the case of Virgo, how do we serve? And how do we want approval? And what is our version of right and wrong? And when we jump into Libra, that's when we start to get relational. It becomes, what do you want? And what do I want? And what if I can't get your approval? How does that feel? And what if you're too easy to give approval and I don't actually have to work that hard? How does that feel? And so this is where we begin our journey into the top half of the zodiac, which is Libra through Pisces, which is the transpersonal. So that's when we're out in the world and we have to deal with people. And of course, with Libra, we want to deal with people because these are the relationships that are the closest to us. These are the relationships that we want more of. This is a Venus ruled sign. And with Venus, we always want more of what Venus has to offer, whether it's love, romance, desire, attraction, or in the case of Venus as a ruler of Taurus, money and self-worth and self-confidence. And so this is an interesting leap. It's almost like the leap that one might make between, let's say, fifth and sixth grade, if you're in the United States, where you are leaving elementary school, you're leaving the primary school where it's all about you and what you're doing every day. And then you start to have the hormonal dumps of adolescence that show up and you become very interested in how other people perceive you and in what other people are doing. There's this whole shift in what we want from people that really starts to show up in Libra. So it's juicy and we are going to talk about it. I am Nafa Perkins of Electra Astrology, and this is my show, Astrology for Awakening. I am going through all of the sun signs, many facets of every sun sign in this series. We are almost at an end. I began this series in 2023 on my podcast, Star Narratives. Through 2024 and well into 2025, I have edited and I'm re-releasing them because I want these sun sign teachings to be a standalone body of work so that you can get in there and listen. These are psychological, spiritual, and astrological in nature. You don't need to listen to just your sun sign. These are the astrology archetypes broken down through the psychological lens of our human experience. So you listen to them, they're very well organized in helping you understand who you are and what you're doing. You will walk away with a lot of juicy information and insights about yourself and what you're doing. So I hope that you enjoy. Go ahead and like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And if you're listening on the podcast Star Narratives, make sure that you're following the show. Your engagement helps this information get out to more people. And this information is really a labor of love for me. I am giving it freely because I feel that it's a really valuable way to look at astrology. Not a lot of astrologers are teaching it in this way. And we need all the help we can get right now in trying to understand what drives us as humans. And we have to begin at the personal level, at the inside level. So I hope you enjoy. I'm so glad you're here. And let's jump into the Libra Virgo transition.
Today, we are leaving Virgo season and we're moving into Libra. So I'm going to talk about what does that mean? How does that show up for you in your life? If you've missed any of the Virgo episodes, go back and listen. We'll just begin by taking a deep breath wherever you are, tuning into your physical body, just coming back to yourself for a moment. This might be the first time all day that you have consciously brought your attention to your body and your breath. So do that for a minute and just notice how you are feeling. Virgo is very busy energy, and it is the energy that's connected to the nervous system. And our nervous systems get thrown out of whack really easily, even with just a certain thing that we read online or a certain phone call that we get, or even just the way that our mind takes us into all of the problems and everything that needs to be solved, wanting the approval of people, etc. So we've covered that over the last few weeks. So our nervous systems during Virgo season can get a little bit activated. And now, as we're moving into Libra, so what happens is that we start at Aries and we go through Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and then Virgo. And those are all the really personal signs. We're dealing with our own interpersonal stuff. Right at about Virgo is when we begin to see the potentials of other people. We want to help, we need to work, we want to problem solve, we want the approval. And then we hit Libra season, and that's when it goes fully into, oh, I am a part of a society. I need to be in relationship with all these people. So while Libra is largely looked at as a sign of intimate partnership, it's also about all of the partnerships that you have, everybody that you're trying to interact with. And it's mostly people that you're somewhat close to. We go into Aquarius, and that's when it's like the people in the world, the people that are passing us on the road and getting in our way at the grocery store. But with Libra, it's where we start to look at our own personal relationships and our impact on those relationships, how we show up in those relationships, what kind of dynamics we create. And then, of course, how do our relationships affect us? How do we change ourselves and morph around a little bit so that we can please our partners or maintain a certain kind of status? So with Libra, we also start to become very interested in our status. How do we look? Are we appealing? Are we attractive? And if you think about your transition between being a child and going into adolescence, that's when this Libra stuff really starts to hit, because you're looking around and you're thinking, well, I want to be pretty enough and I want to be strong enough and I want the attention of the people that I perceive to really have the status to like really have what I want. And so Libra is ruled by Venus, and it is a cardinal sign. It's an air sign. All of the air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, are all the relational signs. It's where we're learning to communicate, where we're learning to see how to attract what we want, and we're learning how to just deal with people. We all learn somewhere along the way that the easier our relationships are, the better everything flows. And so as we transition between Virgo, where yeah, we're kind of striving to like look good. We want the people, the parents, the teachers, the partners, we want them to see us as good in some way. We want them to acknowledge that what we think and what we know is right. But then we get a little bit deeper into that in Libra, because that's where we start to really want to be accepted. We want to be popular. We want to be beautiful. We want to see and be seen. So as we transition into Libra season, that's something that you can begin to inquire. Who is it that I am generally trying to get their attention? What is the demographic that usually makes me feel like I need to look good? With Libra, it's where we begin to notice our appearance. We begin to notice where we feel lack in the way that we look. Taurus and Libra are the two signs that Venus rules. So you can go back to the Taurus season episodes. Taurus is much more about abundance and our relationship to ourselves. So with Taurus, we're looking around trying to figure out how to create wealth, how to create enough of what we need, and then also how we work with our relationship with our own self-confidence. Are we confident and secure enough to get what we want? Do we believe in ourselves? Then we bring it to Venus as the ruler of Libra, and that's where we bring in a lot of other people. And you know yourself that your sense of worthiness can be incredibly impacted by how other people seem to perceive you. And so back to this South Node traveling through Libra, what we've all been working in our own personal process are these questions around what is valuable. Do we need to look a certain way? Do we need to wear a certain kind of clothing, a certain brand, drive a fancy car, have a certain amount of followers, a certain amount of social status in order to be valuable? And these are really important questions, because as we are coming to understand ourselves on a deeper level. And if you're listening to this podcast, 100%, you are trying to understand yourself. It's like, it's so exhausting always putting on a front and scurrying around and trying to do everything that culture and society deems is attractive, appealing, acceptable. And we are all starting to see that on the deepest level yet. We're looking around and we're saying, wait a minute, who am I trying to impress? And if we aren't self-inquiring, we are on autopilot, basically back in adolescence, trying to impress the people in our class. And we can all think back to adolescence and think, oh my God, that was a really exhausting period of time. So just take a breath into that. Take a breath into remembering what it was like when you did not have the tools, the skills, the support, the context to understand that your worth and value was not dependent on how you looked and how many friends you had and who you were friends with. Because you have come so far and you have separated not only from those literal people, but from many of your old beliefs around how you need to appear to people in order to have value. And I think that as many of us go through these stages of life where we have relationships and we have breakups, we have children, we have different careers, we make different friends, go see different parts of the world, that we reframe our idea of what is actually valuable. And sometimes it's good just to go back and look and say, look at how far I've come. It's more important now than ever to differentiate from what culture and society thinks is the right way. We find that to be very empty. We find it to be pointless. Why should we work 70 hours a week in order to make enough money to buy a fancy car to drive around so that strangers think we're important? Why should we hate ourselves every time we look in the mirror because we feel like we have extra pounds on our body or we have weird hair or wrinkles or whatever? Why does it matter? Why would we indulge in the self-hatred of wishing that we looked a different way, wishing that we were a different way, that we had more of something because we want to impress strangers? And social media has really, on one hand, it is very easy to slip into that fantasy world of everybody is doing better than me. So we've all been under these spells, different kinds of spells about different kinds of things for many years. I would imagine that the illusions are already breaking up for you as you begin to see, how much do I miss out on in terms of self-love and self-respect and a natural comfort in my body, in my experience, and trust in my life? How much of that am I missing out on by falling under the spell of these old things that we were taught? This keeping up with the Joneses, this looking good from the outside, as long as you're pretty, young, thin, rich, whatever. How much of my true authentic self am I out of touch with because I have prioritized the attention and respect of strangers? So this is really deep work, and we'll be exploring a lot of the different facets of it as we progress through Libra season. But Libra is cardinal energy, and Libra rules by being nice and pleasing and easy. And so there's always something too connected to wanting to look good, wanting to have enough money, that does easily equate to being pretty, keeping things nice. But as we'll talk about when we look at the Aries Libra connection, Aries is all about personal strength and advocating for self. If you can easily go back into your own experience in adolescence, what you find, what you see, what you remember is that this was a time where you were never really advocating for yourself very well. It was very easy to slip into the group think and the looking around and going along with everybody else, the peer pressure. And with Aries, it is the opposite of that. It is you standing strong in your own values. Think about how much of a shift you had between the part of you that wanted to fit in, and not only fit in, but the part of you that like wanted attention for being so beautiful and being so whatever, versus the part of you that eventually says, that is just an energetic drain for me. Because if I'm just following what other people want me to do, and I'm just a follower, or I'm just a people pleaser, or I'm just trying to look beautiful for strangers, like what's the point? There's no point in any of that. So this is part of our evolution into this next version of this beautiful world that we're all in, is that we are all looking around and giving less of our authority over to the powers that be, all of the powers that be, even all the way down to the people that are advertising to us, telling us, you need to lose weight, you need to be less wrinkly, you need to buy this brand of shoes in order to be cool, you need to travel to this place and take pictures of it in order for people to know that you're successful. And so we're talking about Libra over the next month. And now we're looking at the powers that be that say, you have to look good from the outside. You have to be desirable. You have to make people want you. You have to make people think that you're successful. And then you know you've made it. Do you have a lot of followers? Good. Now you know you've made it. And we're going to be questioning that. We're already questioning that, let's be honest. So take a deep breath into how it feels in your body, just to have those recognitions that it is appropriate and even necessary at this point in your personal process to really make this work a priority, this work around watching how easily you can form into whatever it was, first of all, that you learned in adolescence. What was really popular? What were the popular people, popular celebrities, the popular mentalities? What were those? And what did you learn from them in terms of how you look and how to be a good partner, how to gain the respect of people? What was it that you learned? Because you carry a lot of that still. And then continue to just sense into that feeling of permission to start to drop those old beliefs, to start to really see how far you've come and how strong you are. It reminds me of when women have children, then they have stretch marks. And of course, stretch marks are considered terrible. You're not supposed to have that, blah, blah, blah. But when you look at those stretch marks and you think, wow, like this is proof that I actually brought another human into the world. With Libra, we begin to look at this idea of balancing out the scales, of justice, of fairness, of diplomacy, as we easily slip into, I don't look as good as I should, or I don't have as much money as I should, or I don't have as many people that think I'm amazing as I should. That part of the remedy is in taking a minute and just tuning in to, I've really come a long way. Like, I want to be fair to myself here. I want to really look at this through the lens of my balanced scales, because if I still looked like I was 20, if I was 20 again, would I have had all of the life experiences that I've had, the highs, the lows, the joys, the wins? And the answer is no. Because remember, with the cardinal signs, and that is Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, these are the bosses, these are the leaders of the zodiac. And so every time that we come onto a sign that is cardinal, we look around and we say, whoa, I have to transform into the leader here. I have to transform into the leader of my kingdom. So, in order to be a good Libran leader, it becomes so much less about wanting to look good for others, caring about things like age spots or social status. And what we want to prioritize is the fact that we are inherently valuable no matter what. It doesn't matter what we look like, how much we have, what we lack. When we are focusing on living a life well lived within integrity that encompasses the morals and the values of justice and diplomacy, balance and fairness, that there is a value that is here as a steady force within each of us, regardless of how other people perceive us. And certainly, I think we can all agree that as we get older, we become less concerned with how much somebody has or what they look like, because we understand that some of the dearest people in our lives, some of the wisest teachers that we have, don't have celebrity status. They are not rich and famous. They are not constantly bragging about how much they have, how beautiful they are, who they're connected with. So, this is where we enter into Libra season with the understanding that we're letting go of things that are empty, things that are meaningless, and the things that we have valued in our past that no longer really have the worth. And we're making way for the true value, the value in seeing ourselves, and the value in honoring and appreciating the people that we're in relationship with that we just thoroughly enjoy.
All right. Thanks for joining me, you guys. I hope that you learned something, and I will see you all soon.